everyone. I'm DeAnna McIntosh, founder and global retail and e-commerce consultant at the Affinity Group International and one of the house managers inside of the Retailing Evolved community for indie brands and boutiques. I'm so excited to present to you today, Retail is not dead, it has evolved. Because it's not dead, and it is currently evolving, as we all know. But the future of retail is you, the small business, and that's what we're going to get into today. So let's dig in. Just a little about me. I call myself a semi-Georgia native because I was born here in Atlanta, only lived here till I was 3. I was raised in Chesapeake, Virginia, but now in my adult years, I am back here in Atlanta. So semi-Georgia native. I have been immersed in this retail industry for 14 years and counting. And as you know, my motto is that retail is not dead, it has evolved, which I will show you through this presentation. I'm passionate about equipping small and medium-sized business owners with the same sales-driving strategies, processes, and tools as powerhouse brands and retailers. Traveling is my number one source of inspiration. You'll see this picture here of me in Bangkok, Thailand. It truly is just a breath of fresh air for me to go to a new place, experience how they live, how they work, how they shop, and merchandise. Lastly, at the bottom of the slide, you'll see just an example of some of the companies that I've worked with. I love to start all of my presentations off with a quote. You can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created. You have to rise above it to the next level. This is the perfect quote for where we are in the world and life right now. The way I approach this conversation today is to say, yes, we know we're in the midst of the COVID impact, right? But if we sit here and we complain about it or we talk about all the negatives, we will just continue to sit here. So for this conversation today, we are going to leave the problem as we know it and rise above it to the next level so that we can actually solve that problem. Topics we're going to explore today are retail apocalypse versus COVID-19. What is the future of retail? Things to make sure you have in place to evolve with retail. Companies who are constantly evolving alongside the industry. And lastly, moving forward with a hope over fear mindset. Retail apocalypse versus COVID-19. The impact of COVID-19 on retail. What they want you to think, which you can take they as the news, media, the naysayers, the retail haters, whatever you want to call them. They want you to think there's a retail apocalypse happening, that Amazon's directly responsible for putting everyone out of business, that opening a brick and mortar store is the absolute worst life decision you could ever make, and that malls are going to completely die out. So again, they want you to think that there's a retail apocalypse happening. But what's actually happening is that retailers who have not accepted and adapted with the changes happening in our industry are failing. And they're making changes that they should have years ago. And so COVID is actually accelerating what was already inevitable. Amazon is directly responsible for putting everyone out of business. That's what you hear all the time, right? Actually, yes, Amazon has greatly influenced the evolution of retail, but it cannot be solely blamed for the news headlines that we see and all of these big retailers being in decline. In Q1 2020, e-commerce made up 11.8% of total retail sales. So what does that tell you? Yes, e-commerce is a disruptor, right? But it is not the sole factor in the changes that we see today. And it's so important for retailers to adapt to e-commerce and make sure that everyone has an e-commerce strategy in place to continue to be able to compete in this landscape. Opening a brick and mortar store is the worst life decision you could ever make. I'm sure someone has told you that, right? in reality, you're in good company. Some of the largest digitally native brands are opening stores, including Amazon and Casper and Everlane. At least they were before the pandemic hit, but I'm sure once things start to come back, it will still be a part of their strategy. And if you really, really want to think about this, all of these retailers that have been closing or going bankrupt, shuttering hundreds of stores permanently, they all had e-commerce stores, right? So if e-commerce is the saving grace in the lifeline of retail, why was it that it couldn't make up for all of the stores' sales that were closed? E-commerce is a sales channel. Brick and mortar is a sales channel. Marketplaces are a sales channel. So your strategy really has to be diversified so that you have multiple streams of income. There's no end-all be-alls. Lastly, they want you to think that malls are going to completely die out. But what's really happening is that malls are evolving into lifestyle centers, offering more than just traditional shopping. And we'll get into this a little bit later in the presentation, but I think that the word mall needs to be thrown in the trash, and we need to come up with something different. Whether it's a shopping exploration center or fashion lifestyle center, something else, but the word mall just doesn't fit it anymore because they're going to have to change. The current state of retail. As we talked about, major chains are going bankrupt and downsizing, but again, America is way, way over retailed. So what's actually happening is a right sizing of our industry. 25,000 shops could close permanently this year, and 50 to 60% of those stores could be mall-based. So again, what are malls going to evolve into? I think they're going to evolve into localized shopping centers and have a play on work, shopping, and business, right? So if I go to a shopping center, I want to be able to see the local makers making my products. I want to be able to buy them. And if I have my own store, I want to be able to purchase at wholesale. So I see it as more of a commerce center where you can explore all the different avenues and aspects of fashion. So everyone's rushing to e-commerce currently because a lot of brick and mortar stores are closed. There have been major disruptions in the supply chain. Consumers are changing their shopping behaviors and aren't as willing to come in person. There are new protocols for in-person shopping like wearing masks, social distancing, and there's a higher focus on what I like to call conscious shopping, and that is consumers shopping by their values and with local retailers. So again, what is the future of retail? Small businesses, experiential shopping, and diversity. Small businesses are the future of retail. And why do I say that? Because according to National Retail Federation, small businesses are 98% of all retail companies. Think about that. Small businesses are the current state of retail and the future of retail. And all these news headlines that you keep hearing about are really about just 2% of our industry. I was on a live with the president of Magic yesterday, and she said that an overwhelming majority of the buyers and exhibitors are small businesses. So the focus of small businesses, if you own your own brand or own your own shop, it has to be to focus on building a strong business foundation so that your business will still be thriving and leading the way and innovating because this industry needs you, right? I want to see you still being in business and being talked about 10 years from now. So all this market share that these large companies are leaving behind, they're leaving it behind for you. So you have to be ready and have your financials in place, your sourcing strategies in place, your buying strategies in place to make sure that you're ready to capture that market share. Experiential shopping is the future of retail. Again, before COVID hit, retail was a bit stale. Let's be honest. How many times a month before COVID did you actually go shopping in person? And how was it? Was it the same old, same old? You know what to expect from all the retailers inside. You know what to expect from parking, from valet, from the food court. Was it just the same old, same old? I bet it was. I think that live stream shopping is going to be the next level of e-commerce. If you pay attention to recent headlines, Amazon has live stream shopping. NBC launched Peacock, and there was a mention of live stream shopping. Netflix has been mentioning live stream shopping. Get what I'm saying? It's absolutely going to be the next level of e-commerce. When COVID hit, we saw a lot of retailers doing live showcasing. They'd be in their store showing customers different outfits, right? But in order for the customer to purchase it, they would say sold in the comments or email me. Some retailers took pictures and put it in their stories and then said the first person to comment here gets this item, right? But live stream shopping is actually going live and then people can purchase directly from your live. Really cool. And I know of a startup who specifically focuses on this space. So if you're interested in incorporating live stream shopping into your website, just definitely email me so I can connect those dots for you. Lastly, malls, as we said, will need to become interactive and immersive fashion exploration centers. Coresight research said that 25% of America's malls may disappear by next year. And I've even seen reports of up to a third of the malls disappearing. Crazy, right? So something has to give. And if you're the one who knows what that give is and can come up with the innovative next big thing or come up with what the malls will look like for the future and make your brand a beacon of that, you're going to go far. Diversity. Diversity is more than a buzzword or an HR strategy. It truly has to be in your values. So after George Floyd passed a few months ago now, there has been an awakening, and you've seen the Black Lives Matter movement, and you've seen companies speak out against racial injustice, social injustice, and it really made you kind of wake up and understand where companies are, like what their values are. And so diversity and inclusion is no longer an afterthought. It doesn't matter if your company is you and you alone running the show, or if you're a major corporation. This is a conversation that has to be had, right? And consumers are calling for a level of transparency that's deeper than ever before. If you think about it, the topic has always been, for the last year, 2 years, supply chain transparency. Are you paying your workers a fair living wage? Are you paying your workers a fair living wage? Are you using sustainable materials? What about your packaging? Are you reducing carbon emissions? That was a topic of conversation. Well, now that conversation has gotten a lot deeper. Consumers want to know, is diversity and inclusion part of your value system? And if you're saying that it is that what your messaging shows? Is that what your Instagram shows? Is that what your employees show? Because if you say on social media that you're for diversity and inclusion, but there's no one of color in manager roles or above, then that's a mixed message, right? So consumers want to make sure that your values match your words, match your actions, match your products, and your employees inside your office. And when I say products, I mean purchasing. If sustainability is one of your pillars, one of your values of your company, that's always in your mind when you're shopping, right? Well, now, if diversity and inclusion and equity for all is a part of your value system, when you're shopping, are you thinking about that? Are you thinking to make sure that you're carrying brands that are made by people of color? That is how the mindset is going to be shifting. And to first dig into diversity and what it means for your company, examine yourself as a business owner. What are your personal values? What do you stand for? And then look at your employees. What are their value systems? Do they align with yours? Because maybe this is something new for you, right? And so some employees just might not work out anymore because of that. And then again, look at your products to make sure, well, if you never carried products by founders of color, now is the best time to change that, right? And to start pulsing them into your assortment so that you have a great mix of products. Your imagery. Look at your Instagram feeds. Look at your website. Are you showing imagery of different people of all races, colors, sizes? Are you? If you're not, you can change that. Work with influencers of color, right? When you're buying products made by people of color, they most likely have marketing material with people of color that you can use. And also your messaging. Is your messaging inclusive? If you host events and your attendees, are they diverse? So these are things that you will now start to notice, right? When you're going on a photo shoot for your brand, are you making sure that there's diverse representation? You have to have the following things in place to evolve with retail. Number one, a strategic plan. If you know me, you know I preach this every day. You can fly by the seat of your pants and make money, but you will not make as much money. You will not be as profitable or as innovative as you would be if you had a plan. Okay? It's so important that you have a vision for your business and you know what that vision is, what those goals are, and you lay out the steps to get there. Because if things go wrong, as they always do, or something happens with your sales, all you have to do is refer back to this plan and you'll be able to quickly see where the gap is or where that miss is, course correct it, and move forward. Next, you have to have a financial plan. Look at what happened when COVID hit. How many businesses shut their doors for good after a couple of days? Why was that? Because their financials were not in order. They didn't have cash reserve for emergencies. Anything could have happened. A fire, a huge, vandalism to your store, or anything could have happened, not just COVID. But if you didn't have your cash reserve, if you didn't have a handle on your cash flow and knowing how much money is coming in and out of your store, you're going to be impacted the worst and the fastest. So having a financial plan enables you to know, how much inventory do I have to buy? That's one of the biggest questions that I get is, how do I buy? Well, what's your budget? No one ever has that answer. So if you have a financial plan, if you know you want to hit $1 million this year, then you'll know exactly how much in inventory you have to spend every time you go to the FashionGo website or go to Magic, go to any trade show. You will know. Next, you have to have a diversified supply chain. Again, when COVID hit, companies who were heavily or almost 100% focused in China got hit the quickest and the hardest, right? And now it's a ripple effect across the whole industry. But if you don't have a diversified supply chain, it's going to hurt you. You know, it's the saying, you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. Well, it's true. And it's especially true with your merchandise. You want to have products that are coming from different countries. You want to have international products and domestic products. One of the biggest opportunities that I saw when COVID hit was that local businesses were still ready. They had supplies, they had product, they were ready to ship and take over any business that was lost from manufacturers who couldn't supply because of the supply chain disruptions. So it's important to make sure that you have local products in your assortment as well as global products. And lastly, omni-channel strategy. Again, having multiple streams of income within your business. If you have a brick and mortar store, another channel is e-commerce. Another channel could be private label. So working with a local maker on a private label collection. So making sure that you have multiple streams and channels of sales in your business, and making sure that all of those channels work together. They're seamless. So that I have the same experience on your website that I do in your store, that I do anywhere that I see your brand. Some examples of companies constantly evolving with retail. These are my favorite examples right now. Before COVID, Nordstrom was opening these Nordstrom local stores. They had no inventory, but they had services. You could get tailoring done. They had a nail salon, I believe, in there, gift wrapping, dry cleaning, like all these different services, and you're picking up your online orders in there. Cool, right? And that concept worked for them. Rent the Runway. They're always in the news. They had a partnership with W Hotels, which I just absolutely love this concept. You're going on vacation. You want something cool. Maybe you don't want to go on an entire shopping trip. Maybe you just want something cute for your trip. Well, now you can. And select W Hotels. When you check in, you can select the articles of clothing that you want. They'll be waiting for you in your room. You wear them. When you check out, you leave them there. Rent the Runway comes back and picks it up, and you're on your way. I think my husband would love that, so I could pack lighter. Nike. Throughout the pandemic, they have been all over the news. Their app has driven so much community and engagement to their brand, and that actually translated to sales, right? So when something is happening that's negative, people tend to want to come together. They want to support each other, and that's what this app did, and it paid off for them. And also, again, with the brick and mortars not dead, they are opening new store formats. They just opened a 3-story store in China, and it's all digitally based. It all ties back to their app. So when you go in the store, it's a digitally immersive experience. Definitely stay in tune with what they're doing. FashionGo. FashionGo ensures that your assortment positions you for success. They have the best of the best, which is a page on their site with a list of real-time best-selling items. So it'll show you what the best sellers are so that you can see and make sure that you are incorporating these types of items into your assortment. And think of it this way. Personally, when I was a buyer, I would ask what the best sellers were, but I wouldn't necessarily buy them. But I would look and see what colors were they, what fabrics, what lengths, what textures, what silhouettes were these best sellers, so that I can make sure I had those attributes in the clothing that I'm buying, right? Because I don't necessarily want to buy something that everyone else is buying, but I could find something similar still. And with that note, FashionGo also has the style match tool. So you can take any image that you find on the internet and search it on FashionGo, and it will show you similar items. Now, how cool is that? Again, it's a perfect tool for making sure that you're on trend and for you to see if you have an eye for something. If you know your customer is looking for a specific type of item, well, you can go to FashionGo and be able to find the wide ranges of that type of item for you. I love to say that to evolve with retail, you have to build a business that will withstand anything. But to do that, you must adopt a hope over fear mindset. Being an entrepreneur is not easy by any means. And I don't have to tell you that, you know. But it's so important that you look forward to things. You look forward and have a vision for where you want your business to go and what you want to do and B, as a business owner, and chase that. Because fear will never get you anywhere. It'll keep you stuck right where you are. Have hope. You have to know who you are as a business owner, what your brand is, what you have to offer the world and your customers, and just know that something better is coming and work towards that. Make plans towards that. If that means that you need to invest in expertise from someone like myself or a retail consultant to get you to what that next is and to help you get over that fear, then do that. But you're the future of retail. We're counting on you. And I want to encourage you also to think outside of the box, literally. And I say that because when I used to work in big box retail, that was one of the things that held big companies back the most, is that thinking outside of the box is great, but it's hard as a large business to be able to truly react quickly. But you, as a smaller business, absolutely can. And again, when I was working at Office Depot, I curated and merchandised local Austin, Texas brands into 13 of their stores for the first time in the chain's history. And that same strategy I use for all my clients, my boutique clients, because again, you have to diversify your assortment, and you can find some really cool items from local vendors, right? So you can balance out the things that you find on FashionGo that you love with other local assortment and curated unique items that you can't find anywhere else to come up with the perfect assortment for your customer. To summarize everything we talked about today, retail is not dead. It has evolved. Don't feed into the hype. You are the future of retail. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. Make sure that you have that strategic plan that we talked about, the financial plan, omni-channel strategy, and a diversified supply chain. And lastly, please adopt that hope over fear mindset, because it's going to take you so far and it will help you reach levels that you never thought that you could within your business. So much for your time. I'd love to connect with you. You can find all my contact details here, email, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it. And if you want help with making sure that you have that hope over fear mindset, that you have that strategic plan, that financial plan, omni-channel strategy, diversified supply chain, if you need help with that, definitely reach out to me. And we have a community, Retailing Evolved, where we help mentor you and train you, give you those same strategies that myself and the other experts who are a part of that community, that we've all actually done at a corporate level, managing billions of dollars, right? We give you those same strategies at whatever stage of business you're in. Because to get to that level, you have to know that level, right? And there's so many things about this industry that you cannot Google. You will not learn by reading an ebook or taking a short class. These are things that we know because we've been there, done that, made tons of money with it. So definitely contact me. I hope you have an amazing day and keep fighting for your business.